Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about UFC 312. You guys know the deal. We have a UFC fight this weekend, like always, and I'll be providing all the picks, analysis, parlays, props, locks, whatever you want, I got it. Now, here's the trick. If you're an MVP, you already know the deal. You get all the videos. I make a video on every single fight. If you're not an MVP, that means you're not a member on Patreon or YouTube, then you can watch this one for free, and I'll give away the main event for free. But you won't get to see all the other picks. Now, over the last year, our locks are over 83%. Overall, I think money line on every single fight is something like 67, 66%. And we've been doing really well. Last fight card, we went 9-2, knocked it out the park, went 5 out of 6 on parlays, and MVPs are eating. So feel pretty good about this card and what we're doing. So I'm going to jump into this first fight. I'm going to give you guys the picks and the analysis of these two fighters. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I always do. I go to Tapology first. And the reason you go to Tapology Fight Center is you get to see the fights that were canceled. So you see some guys like Stuart Nickel canceled, Cody Haddon canceled. These are, by the way, these guys I'm naming, phenomenal fighters on the Australian scene, and they're those up-and-coming prospects that we want to see. Unfortunately, they're not on the card anymore. So those fights get canceled due to injury, Hadden withdrew, stuff like this. So now they have some late additions to the fight card. This also lets you know who's taking fights on short notice and why the odds are the way they are. So one fight that they just added to the fight card is Park versus Tumendemberel. Whatever, bro. One too many letters for me. I'm just letting you know. These aren't real names. These aren't real names. There's just no way you went around your whole life calling a baby this shit right here. I don't believe you, okay? So now we have two fighters. They're fighting. We got Hyun Park. By the way, I once lived in Germany. True story. Not Germany, South Korea. I lived in Germany as well, but I once lived in South Korea I'm a retired first sergeant in the United States Army. And back in the day when I was a younger guy, I think I might have been a sergeant. I got to Korea, landed on the plane, jumped on a bus from Incheon, took me down to Seoul, took me down to, who's that other place? Humphreys. And I show up to Camp Humphreys, and a guy at the gate checks my ID card, and his last name is Park. Okay, his last name is Park. I get to my office. They tell me, hey, you're a squad leader. Here are your soldiers. By the way, you have a Katusa. His name's Park. I said, oh, sweet. I already met him, man. He took my ID at the gate. They all looked at me like I was crazy. Park's as common as Smith, Perez, and Rodriguez, bro. What are you talking about? I was like, oh, I thought it was one guy. I didn't know it was everybody's name is Park. So you might see the name Park all over the place. But MVPs, if you've been watching these fights over the last year on Patreon or with me on the Discord server, you guys don't know the deal. Every single fight card, we put it on the Discord stage. Come watch it with us. We give you live analysis. We tell you what to bet, what props to do, all that stuff. And you can, if you miss a lock here and there, the MVPs scramble and find a save the night parlay, if you will. Please show up to the Discord server. The link for it is usually in the comments of every single video. But you got to be a member to show up. You show up, you won't see any of the channels that matter unless you're an MVP. Shout out to Patreon and YouTube. You can become an MVP. It's pretty simple. $255 for the year, $25 a month. We do college football and UFC. So, and we don't miss. That's what we're here for. The picks are outrageous. So nonetheless, you're gonna see Hyun Park, and you're gonna be like, yo, I've seen this guy before. No, you haven't. They don't all look the same, okay? You haven't seen Park because he hasn't fought in a year. All right, I'll break down Park first. Looking at Park, if you ever want to do research on him, he's 29 years old. His nickname is Peace of Mind. Not that he's going to give you his peace of mind. No, he just wants peace. And he's of peace, mind, and soul. You see where he's got 4 knockouts and 4 subs. He's pretty much a 50-50 fighter, meaning he's capable of doing everything. He's undefeated. But I want you to pay attention to something. When you go back and watch these fights, he's known for his finishing capabilities. He's in incredible shape. He doesn't really gas out. He's prepared to use his grappling muscles. A lot of guys are out there, the strikers, they can't grapple. They get exhausted the minute they start clinching and doing them 50-50s and fighting for underhooks. They blow their arms out and they can't fight anymore. Park is a grappler. But while he does this like he's out there striking and doing stuff, his striking reminds me of women's shadowboxing. He really does. He reminds me of the dude at the bar when you're all out for drinks and that dude's broke and he's like, who's going to pay for this? And he does that pump fake for the wallet. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to pay. Yeah, that's Hyun Park, man. He's got every pump fake in the world. And I'm serious. This man, when he's in striking, it looks crisp. It looks clean. But all he is shadow boxing. He's throwing feints everywhere. He doesn't want to really bang like that. He doesn't really want to throw them things. He's throwing feints everywhere, but what he really wants to do is get it on the mat. He's a great grappler. He's extremely physically strong grappler. If he gets a rear naked on you, if he's in the rear mount of any sort with a body triangle or hooks, he's going to finish the fight. He's that strong. So his submission game is real. His grappling game is real. But if you go back and watch this fight right here, this Sung Gunk Choi fight, this kid trains. He's in red shorts in this fight. He trains with Korean Zombie. And yes, he wins the fight by submission. But if you really watch the fight and you sit down and watch it, he loses the first 2 rounds. And he gets clipped all the time. This young man gets clipped all the time. And then he still recovers because he's a good fighter. And if you go on the ground, do not get in his guard. He's a crafty guy, and he knows how to fight. So it's one of these things where he's very dominant grappling. If you want to know why I'm not talking about this TKO win over Shannon Ross. Shannon Ross is an Australian fighter. Everybody knocks him out. As a matter of fact, Hung Sung Park did not really knock him out. It was 2 body shots that won that fight. He ended up doing a body shot and then closing it down and doing what he does. But this young man is extremely strong, extremely aggressive. It's just he's been out for a year. How can you bet on this if he's been out for a year? In the fight against Shannon Ross, he blows out his knee or something like that. He's been recovering for that for the whole year. That's where he got injured. So he's watching this guy not fight all last year. He's finally healthy. He's here. And then they go and give him this alphabet dude. This guy. Nyamjargal. It looks like gibberish, bro. Tumendemberel. The Mongolian. The Mongolian. I know. It looks like he's from South Korea. He's not. He's Mongolian, and his nickname is the Art of the Knockout. It's weird, because he only knocked out 2 dudes. And he's got 5 subs. But they're really ground and pounds. It is what it is. So what do we know about this little guy? Well, we know he's aggressive and he's kind of strong. Now, the last time he fought, he was a huge favorite against Carlos Hernandez. Huge favorite. And I was like, nah. Remember, I gave you guys analysis on this. I said, no. He beat a bunch of cans, bro. He beat a bunch of cab drivers on his way to the UFC, on his road to the UFC. He beat a bunch of cab drivers, and then he had to fight Carlos Hernandez. I was like, he's not about that life. Carlos Hernandez is a dog. Because his last name is Hernandez, not Park, bro. Hernandez, Mexicano, he's out here doing his thing, and Hernandez put it on him. Now, some people will tell you it was a split decision and all that. Whoever made it a split decision, that judge that made it 29-28 the other way, bro, take away his judging license. I'm telling you, sounds like a Tuivasa on the card. You know what I'm talking about. We are in Australia. These judges might do us dirty. One thing I'll say about this particular fight is it shouldn't go to the judges. I don't think this fight's going the distance. Now, because it's a newer fight added to the fight card, it's currently not on the sports books. If you go click on prelims right now, you can't bet on it. By the time Saturday comes, you will be able to bet on this fight card and this particular fight. And I don't think this fight goes the distance. I believe that's a minus 200. And the reason I don't think it goes the distance is either Park's getting knocked the hell out or Tumendemberel is going to get submitted. Now, I think either way is a submission. I think he has a chance to win by submission as well. But I'm telling you that Park doesn't have a great chin. He doesn't have great head movement. He does have really good shadow boxing look and style, but he can get clocked in a hurry. And this man over here, although they're both 5'7", this 71-inch reach is no joke. Homie can scratch his knees while standing at attention. Dude's got long arms. He doesn't use it the greatest, and I know I don't like his fighting capability or ability or anything. I just think that these odds are going to be insane. So I looked on ESPN right here, and it has it minus 235. So we can't even see the odds on FanDuel. But if you have other sports books out there that let you bet on this, this is incredible. This is absurd. Now, the sports books love Park. If you saw him against Shannon Ross, he was a minus 600. Part of that has to do with Ross being terrible. And the sports books, they like Tumendemberel last time he was out, but he loses. And now we got him at plus 190. I think this is crazy. I think these fighters are very, very comparable to each other. And when you see a minus 235 like this, it's probably because he's a great grappler and he's a good kid. But I'm telling you, he gets clipped, man, and it's a wrap. Now they're 125 pounds, so betting on a knockout is absurd at this weight class for sure. What I will tell you is that Tumendemberel, he was putting it on in the first round against Carlos Hernandez. But he blew his load. He went too hard, like a teenager. He blew his load early. And you got to remember that you learn from those mistakes. It's his first professional loss. But Hang Sung Park has only fought road to UFC guys, and he fought in some organization called Double G out in Korea. It's the number one organization in Korea, Rico. I know, bro. I know. Double G. And then he fought Shannon Ross. He's fought nobody in a year. He's been training. Kid looks slick on the mat. I will say that. But once I see a guy like that, I think, is he a jiu-jitsu nerd? Because he fights kind of like a jiu-jitsu nerd. There's a time where he's on the ground and he's not trying to get up. He's reaching for an ankle. He wants to grab your ankle and pull you into his guard. Homie wants to pull guard like he's Mike Davis. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So for me, in this particular fight, I think because of the odds, I'm going to tell you to take Tumendemberel because the odds shouldn't be this way. They shouldn't. But if you're really being smart, this is not a lock. I wouldn't be putting money on this fight if it's your last dollar or anything of that nature. Just watch the fight and learn about these guys because it's going to be tough. I'm going to pull the chart into the screen here. So it's going to be tough if you're trying to make a living gambling on this shit because you're betting on a guy who hasn't fought in a year. You've never seen him fight. I think you need to dial it down and learn about a guy he looks really dominant against terrible fighters. So Shannon Ross got worked. He's in there throwing combos. He looks great. He didn't look that way on his road to the UFC. Actually, he had a tougher fight on the road to the UFC. If we go in here, Park did before the UFC fight. This fight right here on February 4th was much harder than this one. He was losing these rounds, okay? He gets clipped a lot. So it's just one of those things where I got to trust my assessment on somebody's chin, and I don't think that it's going to look good if you get clipped. And Tumendemberel just looks equally as strong at the class. I understand they're giving you grappling odds here. They're giving you grappling odds. He's going to win rounds and win the fight this way. I don't think it goes the distance, but it's not a lock either. None of these are locks. It's a value bet. Value bet so far this season. Woo, woo. Value bets are at 50%, which is tremendous because the value bet is always when we take the underdog. We're 50-50 when taking an underdog. It's pretty remarkable. We went 3-0 last week. If you don't remember, this is the card from last week. We took Bogdangrad. We took Michael Page. We took Amavov. This is important stuff when you go and take underdog. I don't like taking underdogs just to take them. If I'm ever going to take them, it's because I really believe in them. These three I really believed in. Careful when I take an underdog because the odds are wrong. That's what this is, right? The odds are wrong. Now, remember, on UFC 311, we took Barcelos because you can never take Talbot at minus 1,300. You just can't. So that's just how that goes. And we got it right. So you guys got to feel pretty good about this. I'm telling you, I'm taking this purple, parlaying it with nothing. I am just taking it straight across, and I'm hoping Tumendemberel goes out there. He's fighting a road to UFC caliber fighter. He walked through those dudes back in the day, right? His other fights are road to UFC caliber fighters. That's what he's fighting in this particular fight. I think he should win the fight. I understand Park's ability to grapple. I understand he's in shape, but he hasn't fought in a year, and there's just concerns about his durability. So I can't go with him, especially at a minus 2 something. If you're gonna bet on him at minus 200 and something, that means you're gonna parlay him with something else. I can't imagine ruining a parlay by taking Park in the early prelim fight. I would take a flyer, sprinkle on the underdog, and then we'll make our living somewhere else. We're gonna make a lot of money somewhere else for sure. Because some of these odds, they look crazy to me, bro. All right, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. If you want to see all the other analysis and breakdown of the fighters, please get to Patreon, search Rico Knows, download the app, go to YouTube, hit join, not just subscribe, but hit join, and then you'll get all the analysis. Good luck, y'all. Peace.